Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Ann and I are here. It is 8 a.m. in South Dakota. That's why Ann looks like she should still be sleeping because she usually is still sleeping.
But I am wide awake today. Had my first sip of coffee, raring to go.
See, and Ann, I prepared. Whoop, whoop. I have my 2 cups of coffee so that when I run out of one, I still have the other one because
There you
that's how I run. Um, so, good morning, everyone. I am Deplorable Knitter. This is lovely, beautiful Ann Pinkova
Hello.
here for your Saturday morning enjoyment.
We
The
are.
filing can wait. I'll sit here a while. Good. Thanks for coming, Claudia. I totally just handed my kids a pack of Pop-Tarts and I'm like, here, watch some TV. I'll be out in an hour. So,
Kids, bye.
but
Oh, and we should also say that our episode is sponsored by Chicken Lady Fiber Arts.
sure is. She's fantastic.
She is fantastic. You know the spiel. She's got a variety of beautiful yarns, some brand new mohair sets coming out. And with our special promo code, it's PIK Deplorables 20 for 20% off your order, which is pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome. And guys, it's October, which means you got to think about Christmas knitting. So get some nice quality yarn for a little bit less. Make some gifts for, the people you like, but you're not going to spend $80 a skein on.
There you go.
Because it's fabulous quality and nobody will know you didn't spend that much.
That's right. And also she does, Lynn does this deal where it's a little sampler set of yarns too. So if you're like, I don't know which yarn to go for, there's a lot of different bases, that she'll send you a happy little chocolate box full of the different varieties, just a little wind off of each kind of yarn. So you can feel it and knit a little more. Oh, there you go.
And look at, I can't open it, but look at. Oh, and it even tells you, it comes just like chocolates. There's a thing in here that tells you what it is. The colorway on this one is hazy purple. I just made them all out. So I'll hold them like this.
Right.
Yeah, so there's all different kinds, and you can squish them and touch them and love them, and then you know what you're getting, which is nice because that's one of my big things about ordering online. Something will look really pretty, and then you'll get it, and like it'll be like rough or not what you expected. So there you go.
There you go.
Did you like how I had one right there? I thought that was
pretty cool.
I usually am not that good.
But anyways, the promo code again is PIK Deplorables 20. So thank you guys.
Yes. So, did you knit this week?
I did.
What do you have?
Well, I have.
I want you to talk so I can drink this coffee.
Okay. I actually cast on another Rockefeller shawl because I'm a nerd.
Is it the one you were talking about with the green and gold colors or no?
Yeah. So
Nice.
here I am. I'm going to commit yarn sin and pull that out so you can see. But yeah, it looks just like the other one, except it's green and gold, and isn't that great?
I like it. This one looks a lot different than the other one just because of the contrast of the colors. The other ones you had blended more. This one you can see the like Art Deco, which is cool.
That it's very sharp lines, which is funny because this is Rowan felted tweed. Because so I think I said last time that I wanted to do sort of a Loki themed green and gold version, and I was pulling every green I had and every gold, and then I started out with another two, and the lines were too sharp between them, and it had this sort of cheap look to it. Like
Right.
I can't describe it well, but it looked bad to me, even though the two colors separately were okay. But when I knit them, it was like, eh. And the stitch definition was a little too much, which may be a personal problem, but
yeah, that's what people complain about. I mean,
well, there's like little wrap and turns in this fanned portion at the top. And when you go back and you knit over every wrap and turn, I could see everyone super distinctly. And it looked as if I had made a mistake, even though I hadn't. And it kind of annoyed me. So, Oh, and yeah, so that a personal thing, and also another micro annoyance is that I don't know if you can see well, but there's these yarn overs
Mhm.
that are increases right there. And the last time it's two yarn overs and there's two stitches in between them. And the last time it kind of bothered.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry,
last
there we
time
go.
I bothered you.
Sorry, it bothered me. I don't know that it kind of stretched a little weird that I felt like there should have been a little more embellishment to these increases. And what I ended up doing was just little two-stitch cables in between them.
Hmm.
And that sort of, I don't know, that sort of pulled apart away from the yarn overs a little bit. And it looked, yeah, I think it looks a little bit neater than it did before, but that's just me. So,
And that's the beauty of knitting. If that makes you happy, then you can do it, and it's not up to anybody else.
right.
So
You're
that's
like,
cool.
Stephen West, this is a little tiny bit bothers me. I'm sorry, man. And I know everyone else is doing his new mystery knit along thing.
Yeah, I've seen a ton of color like kits for that.
Hmm.
I am not doing it, but
No, well, it's one of those things that because everybody's doing it, I could not avoid seeing this shawl if I wanted to. And I'm like, maybe it's an awesome shawl, and maybe it'll be done, and I'll be like, wow, I want to make one. But it's like, I don't know. I'm a little gun shy when it comes to Stephen West shawls, even though I love this one.
yeah, there's so much to them. And I don't really like a project where I have to pick out 5 or 6 colors for something.
Right, especially when you don't know the end product and you don't know where they're going. It
Yeah,
makes it difficult.
I'm not a mystery person. I know some people love to do that stuff, but it's not my thing.
Right.
So, what anything else that you've been working on? More Papa hats?
No, actually, because I did run out of yarn.
Oh, bummer.
I know I'm still surfing around for that. I'm sure I'll find something. I'll have to wait and get desperate until I really am out of hats, out of yarn, done.
And you'll
Um,
have, yeah.
yeah, then it'll be bad. Um, but I actually pulled out some old Cedar Hill Farms last year's Christmas set, the gnome for Christmas.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but again, the thing that kind of bothers me is that I'm not sure that the color contrast between the light green here and the red, if that's where I should have started in the thing, in the sequence. What?
I think you worry too much.
I think I do. I think I just, maybe it was just the week I had that,
But
when you're frustrated with knitting, or it's like, am I frustrated with knitting first, or am I frustrated with other things first, and how do they affect the other? And if
yeah,
one's sorted out, are they all sorted? Um, yeah, I was, again, so it was just like micro looking at my knitting. I'll deal with you later, but it's a teal and a uh, kind of forest green stripe right here. So I'm sitting here looking at this like, maybe I should pull this down to the toe and restart with the green there, because then the teal will be at the top, and that would look nice too. Or I should just leave it, or I should just
just keep,
ignore it all.
they're just socks.
Well, I've ignored this project since last year, and Christmas, as you said, is coming.
Mhm.
So,
Christmas is coming, guys. Um,
yeah, what are you working on?
so I have another unfinished hat for sailors.
Yay!
This one's a 2x2 rib.
Oh, that's
Um,
cute.
I think it's Cloudborne Superwash. It's like mostly gray, but then it's got these pops of purple and green.
Yeah, and
It's it's
I
like,
really like how they're in the same spot the way across. Or, I mean, not the same spot, but they're staggered in a specific direction.
and it's like acid green. So I kind of like it with the purple. I showed it to my mom and she's like, that's horrible. Nobody will like that. But the more I knit it, the more I'm like, but it's so happy. Look at it.
See,
Yay.
your mom's like, that's horrible. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's all personal taste. And then I've been body snatched. I am not me because
Again.
I started a shawl.
Ooh.
And it's in fingering weight yarn.
Oh, wow, you are insane.
Yeah, who am I and what have you done with my real person? So, yeah, this is some Hobby Lobby, their hand dyed Hobby Lobby, whatever. And then this is Hope Poured Over on the singles by Bigfoot Fibers.
Oh, sure.
So, there you go. So, I'm working on that and we'll see how far I actually get on it because once in a while I'll start a shawl. And I'll be like really gung ho, and then it'll get like 500 stitches, and then I'm like, this is boring, and I move away from it. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
But I'm really liking it. I don't know that I would ever wear it, but it's something.
It's fun.
So those are my things. I don't know.
But yeah, the little, I don't know what they're called, if you'd call them fan or shell or whatever, stitches that are kind of wrapped together. That's really interesting.
They're like, they're almost supposed to be like a flower.
Okay.
You know why I went with the green and the fancy pants colors to make it look like a garden kind of thing. Nice. I don't know. Excuse me.
Bless you.
So that's all the knitting.
There you go.
People say that my shawl is going to be lovely. It will be if I finish it. That's a huge caveat. Like, I started it, and it will look cool if it's done.
Once you get there.
And I can admit that because I know how I work. Sorry. It's that kind of morning. So, anything else happening with you?
Not a knitting world.
I don't have any knitting, but in my real life, we've been putting in a concrete driveway. Oh, man. It has been, I think I talked about it last week. Finally poured the concrete this week. Yesterday, we would normally be at co-op, but we didn't go. And my husband calls me downstairs. It's an emergency. I come running down. They needed help getting some of the slag off of the form so they could remove the form. So I was down there with a hammer breaking off the concrete extra. So, but yesterday, all of it got poured. So we're in the home stretch. We still can't drive on our driveway for like 2 more weeks. So hopefully it won't snow before it's ready because that would be obnoxious. But
right. Well, it is the season.
It's too soon.
I know. I don't want to think about it, but all the leaves are changed here, and fall is an incredibly short season in South Dakota. No, spring and fall, it's very rare for us to have it for any length of time. It's more of a summer. Oh, it's nice fall. Snow.
That's no good. I would not enjoy that much. I've been thinking about it. I never used to really care for fall, probably because like I had feelings about going back to school and things. But, now that I'm older, I like all of the seasons except winter. I don't like being cold. I don't like the, not being able to go places because of the weather. And
I don't know. I don't mind winter. Well, I shouldn't say that. Winter is much better for me once I'm in it, but leading up to it, I'm like, no. And again, we're in oftentimes minus 20 below at night territory. So it's sort of bitter and miserable and everything else.
You guys have weather there, that's why.
Well, it freezes out. Only the strong can survive here. It freezes out the riffraff.
Yeah, so all those people coming from California, that helps.
Well, hopefully it does. Though I've noticed that we've had an influx of people from California, not just in this past year, which we definitely do, but like within the past 5-6 years that, when the common answer, if you ask somebody where they're from and they're not from South Dakota, has been overwhelmingly California. So who knows?
Soon it's going to be New York because we got Kathy Hochul just running us into the ground. She is useless. The last thing I saw from her was she's contemplating bringing back the mask mandates, for the state, for everybody, because they work so well. And so we've lost a ton of teachers because of the mandates, and we've lost a lot of healthcare workers in a pandemic, which is so confusing to me.
Yeah.
If it's truly a pandemic, I don't think that we can get rid of these people, can we? Is that how it works?
No, every hand on board. They were, after all, good enough to work the COVID wards for the last year. But yeah, I've seen lots of posts this past week and before of nurses who have lost their job, and and all of the schooling it takes to be a nurse, and they've done the job, and it's a long time. And now they're out on their ear and without any unemployment benefits too, which is quite interesting.
It's because they are doing everything they can to get us to bend to their will.
Right.
There, I saw somebody, it's actually one of my mom's friends growing up. She was like an aunt, kind of, not an aunt, but a very close friend, like one of those people that was around and just always there.
Right.
My dad was calling. But she was posting, like, when the polio vaccine came out, everybody was like lining up and they didn't care about the consequences. People were like, polio was different, for one, because it was like, it just was different than this vaccine. You can't tell me it wasn't.
It is. And also the term breakthrough cases are a little more common nowadays.
But the nonsense, just the crazy, like, and if you don't agree, they are just so mean. And
I know.
I've never needed to be mean to somebody who doesn't agree with me. I can think they're dumb all I want to, but I don't have to be mean to their face.
Right. No, I don't know. It's a ridiculous dividing thing between people, which, and again, everyone's been isolated and stressed and lonely. And, to that extent, when we all come back, any differences, we're all like hissing cats to each other. But it's not it's not a nice thing. But with that people are getting fired for nursing and for different vaccine mandates. I don't know if this is delayed, but I saw something from Ben Shapiro's site that they're all ready to lawyer up because of the Biden mandates. And so far, they say that there hasn't been anything properly in law yet. Like they're waiting to lawyer up and waiting for someone to put some sort of injunction against them, and nothing's happened. So they're like, hang on, was this a fake out the whole time? Are we just waiting? Are we
It could be. I don't
right?
know, man.
Has it been all the businesses just acting independently because they hear what Biden says and everyone freaked out? Because I don't know. I feel like we're playing chicken right now, and it's the biggest stakes on a game of chicken since the Cold War.
I mean, we're playing chicken, and they've got. Man, I just totally lost my train of thought. Sorry, Anne. It's gone. Keep on.
No, that's fine. Well, and other things. So of the many stuff coming down legislatively that they're sneaking into different bills that is really freaky. I mean, you have different you have fines for businesses who do not comply with the vaccine mandates. They're talking about tracking cars by the mile and taxing you by the mile, which is super charming. And
yeah, it's totally something I'm all for.
Well, okay, with all of this green crap, it's people who live in concrete jungles and no concept. Nope, here I am in the great white north, and I mean white because it's cold. And it's not uncommon for a 15, 20, half an hour commute because you live out in the country. And they're like, oh, we're charging you by the mile. Oh, great. That's really helpful. Thanks, everybody. And oh, and we have to be electric. I'm like, do you know what happens to an electric car in minus 20 degree weather? Like, what else are you gonna mandate? Because that's gonna be just easy.
So, fun fact, my husband and I drive an electric car. We've had one for 6 years. We love it. It's a great commuter. When we got it because the payment was similar to how much money we put into gas in a car. So it was kind of a wash when we bought it. But we don't drive it in the winter. We have a gas car for the winter because the salt is not good for it. Anybody who's they have no resale value. Like, our car still looks brand new because not me. I am not psychotic. My husband is psychotic about the care and upkeep of it because once the battery goes, it goes. And everybody's like, oh, electric cars, they're so blah, blah. Dude, the way they get like the lithium ions battery stuff is so bad for the environment. And everybody's like, oh, go get one, go get one. We got one because it made financial sense. We didn't get one because we were like, oh, hey, let's be green. No, we know we're not that green. It just is.
Well, exactly. I mean, first off, you basically have a coal-powered car, which on one hand is great because coal is really efficient now. They've really think it's over 90% efficiency on coal, and then all of the byproduct of coal is also used in construction. So coal is awesome. But I was watching a video the other day. It was a charging center for cars, and the battery exploded, and that burned, and yeah, and I'm just watching this going, ah, and the other cars in the line caught on fire. And while I was watching this, someone else was like, oh yeah, when those batteries go up, it's toxic fumes coming off of it. Even if like the fire department were right there, the solution is, yeah, I'm just gonna let it burn and maybe spray water around so it doesn't get farther. But at that point, there's really nothing you can do. I'm like, oh great, when an engine blows versus one of those batteries go up, that's a very different problem.
Right. And then there's like the problem we run into is we drive a Nissan, right? So the Nissan has a certain kind of charging cord. Well, everywhere I've gone lately has been putting in Tesla chargers, which are not the same. So then they've got to get all of these different kinds of chargers and stuff. And
like iPhone, Android plug-in differences.
That's exactly the difference. Like Tesla has its own, and then like all the other electric cars have the same kind of charger. So it doesn't make sense. Like I was going to a mall nearby and I called their guest services and I'm like, do you have anything other than Tesla chargers? And they're like, no. Because it's an affluent area, and I guess that's the only kind of electric car was driving over there. I don't get it. It's the whole thing is just goofy. And
I've seen a couple Teslas around here, and it's the same question. I'm like, maybe I should keep a check, like a little Post-it note check on how many Teslas I see for each month. I'm like, I'm really wondering how it's going to be in January.
Yeah.
I got some questions.
It's really, and I mean, maybe the Teslas are made differently. Like I said, I drive a Nissan, but part of what we decided to do is technically in the winter, we're a one-car family, which may also be part of why I'm not thrilled about winter, because like if my husband has to go into the office or something, I can't do things. I have to stay home because I could leave, but we don't drive the other car unless we have to. So it's kind of anyway.
Right.
It's just funny. But yeah, all these mandates, it's just, I think that they just want to distract us from everything else. It's talking about this, and then we're not talking about all the other crap they're doing. Like the response to the Texas law that they had, the Texas, you can't get after 6 weeks, right?
Right.
So now somebody is proposing that men get a vasectomy after they've had 3 kids or when they turn 40.
Right, that is in the state of Pennsylvania, and no, I was about to say in the state of Virginia. Virginia is the governor who's like, oh yeah, and after you've had your baby, we can take it somewhere else and keep them comfortable. So basically, you can decide whether you want a post-birth abortion, and which just reminded, yeah, that was probably a year or so ago. So yeah, that's, I know. Well, and this it just reminds me, I was chatting with my brother this week, and it was something, can men have abortions? And Max is like, yeah, I want an abortion. Take me out. I'm done. I'm not. But I'm like, you have to figure out your trimester first. He's like, trying to do math. 87th, I don't remember what it was. And like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I've seen this world too much.
It's just messed up. And the fact that like nobody really is that worried about it bothers me. Like probably when China started it, oh yeah, we've got a huge population and a lot of people were like, oh yeah, that's fine. But we have so many people nowadays who choose not to have kids, who don't for whatever reason. Like if people want to have them, they should be able to have them.
Right, that there's this weird kind of like there's already this pre-popularity with men getting vasectomies, and it's like, why
And
sorry.
okay.
Sorry, my internet's a little flaky today. But anyways, you see celebrities like, oh yeah, I got one. I'm like, what is your deal? But it's like, oh well, it's the thought that if there's a 3-child policy, that doesn't mean anyone will die. Because if you do a 1-child policy, if you have a 2-child policy, have you read no dystopian novels or even sorry, I like to rag on the show The 100 because I think it's one of the worst shows that someone ever made me sit through any of them. So bad. But even on that, oh, don't hurt yourself. It's physically painful.
Okay.
But anyways, that even in that show, it's like, oh well, it was a 1-child policy, and this was the 2nd child, so you go to space prison or whatever. But that it's such an obvious thing, and also we've had such a social pressure for so long that if you have more than 2 or 3 kids, oh well, that's super weird. You're getting into the 4 and 5 category. Weirdo. It's kind of weird. It's bizarre that way. And I don't know, that's perhaps because I'm I know different homeschooler families, and homeschool families tend to have more kids. And I mean, my mother was youngest of 9. I would be screwed if that was a previous policy. That there's so many. It's an attitude that having a lot of kids is not like it's beyond the pale. You don't do that. Even in Harry Potter fandom world, everyone's like, "Oh, I want a family like the Weasleys," except not that many kids, though. I'm like, but what's wrong with that? Since
since we started co-op, there are so many families. I mean, they don't have huge families, but they've got 4 or 5 kids. That's the norm. There's a few of us that have just a couple or one, and they're like, we're the oddballs, actually. But there's nothing wrong with having kids. There's nothing wrong with it. Although I do think that families like the Duggars have made it into like a bizarre thing, because you watch them and you've got the 20-year-olds raising their babies because they have too many kids to take care of. And I get that. Like it's that makes it weird for most people who aren't familiar with that kind of thing. You watch it like a freak show, not like this is something I'm going to do. And you hear about the problems they have, and
Well, the Duggars are a special case. But anyways, anything on TLC, I wouldn't quite say family. I wouldn't model your family on any TLC show ever.
Good point. We've had some really scary ones.
They have. But I mean, it used to be that the average number of kids in a family was much higher. I mean, through the Depression or even earlier to the 1800s, it was, like the beginning of Northanger Abbey. Any family of 10 children will be called a fine family, where there are heads and arms and legs enough for all of them. And that it was considered a good thing. It wasn't considered an oddity.
Right.
So,
I mean, things change, and there's nothing, you know, we live in a different time, and that makes sense. But if people still choose to have big families, that's not anybody's choice except the people that are in the family.
mhm.
Especially if they're able to, you know, take care of them and aren't like terrible parents,
Yeah. And
aren't raising pedophiles, then we're fine.
right. And frankly, I mean, why are we worried about people having more than 3 kids when they're sterilizing all of these teenagers with puberty blockers? Just saying.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think you're probably okay as far as, you know, population control, which I am against, for the record, goes. I think it's probably gonna work out without doing a 3-child policy. Yay.
Well, you know, Bill Gates said that he wanted that we needed population control through vaccines and something else. I don't remember what the other thing was, but I think it's going to come to fruition. So we're all screwed.
Right.
Oh, there goes Anne again.
Sorry,
So
there we go. And okay, when I first saw the 3-child policy thing come up, it was very much this has been proposed in Pennsylvania, but the Pennsylvania state legislator is Republican, so it won't see the light of day. Okay, whatever. Here's the thing though, because Democrats get their Christmas wish lists in early, that they'll propose things way before, they can feasibly come true. And then, conservative punditry will be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then everyone will hear about it and they'll get used to the idea and they'll be like, oh, what's the problem with that? And then they will go forward with it, and again, it's not the punditry's fault because it really is crazy. But it's that conservatives are never like, or very rarely, coming out and saying, you know what I want? I want, a cut in bureaucracy. I want, level 10% tax on everybody or something like that. No bizarre tax system. That it's very, Trump was very good at that, for saying, I want a wall. I'm going to build it. And I want, we're going to cut this, we're going to do that, and sort of put the wish list out. So, it's not just replying to whatever crazy stuff the Democrats are doing.
you know what they do? You know the crazy, like, well, not crazy, but you know the people who are like, speak it into existence and it will be. That's what
Right.
they like. You believe it hard enough, and sooner or later it's going to happen. And that's because, and
Right.
that's what they do. They
Well, and they
take
also act towards what they want. But yes.
right, but they take these things and they kind of I mean, you hear about it and 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 you kind of get desensitized to it. And then when they finally like put it into a bill or it comes somewhere else, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not such a bad thing. Oh, we've been hearing about that for a while, and it's yeah. I don't know, man.
No, that's all right. It's some crazy stuff. And even to totally change gears, that right now, I mean, in your state, we talked a little bit last time about, the healthcare workers are fired, so we have to call in the National Guard to replace them. And I remember at the beginning of COVID that there was just sort of like a whisper of we might have to shut down states and have National Guard, basically border checks. And then it was like, oh crud. It was like kind of a, if you were out and traveling at all, which not many people were, it was sort of this half like, what if you get stuck in a state? Like, what if you get stuck somewhere because there's a National Guard border control, which again, at the beginning of COVID, you really didn't know what was happening because there were different guard units out, and you'd hear of them out and about and be like, oh no, what's going to happen? And then it kept going and everything was fairly normal. And like, there was hospital camps set up that were never used and stuff like that. But right now you have National Guard being called up for, again, healthcare worker replacement. But at the exact same time in England, that England is having a petrol shortage right now, or a gas shortage, and that is because there's no truckers to drive them, even though their certification is backed up. So there are people willing to be truckers, but the system is, kind of clogged up, and they haven't got the paperwork through and everything. And they are also calling up the military, and not necessarily these things are super connected, but it's the same time. It's the same time that the military is being called there and the military is being called here. And in Australia, the military is already called up to harass people.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, though I don't have the name in front of me, but there was a policewoman in Victoria who just quit and kind of came out as a whistleblower saying that she couldn't do it anymore, and she spoke out, she'd be fired anyways. So she's going down the line just appalled at what has happened. There's a little clip of her talking, that she's normally the one in the RoboCop helmet. But it was her and her friend who were out jogging with, for their allotted 2 hours of exercise. And the reassurance patrols, because they've all got creepy 1984 names. And again, it's a pack of policemen. And she was talking about how you don't look them in the eye and they don't want to look you in the eye. And it is so creepy. But she was like, yeah, it's uncomfortable. And most of the cops don't want to do this. And she doesn't want to do this. And I'm like, most of the cops don't want to do this. And why don't they stop? Because that's the thing with everybody, that everybody is just in their own head thinking that it's just me, and it really isn't. But anyway, so she's speaking out about that, and it's quite interesting.
Well, everybody, they're thinking it's just me thinking that. I mean, look at us. We have just had parents declared domestic terrorists for speaking up at school boards and things. Like, according to the FBI, and that is because they're making a difference. They're making the town boards and the school boards and all those things. They are changing what they're trying to do, and so it doesn't go with what they want us to do. So therefore, now we're terrorists, and it kills me. Like, I'm a parent. I should be allowed. I mean, I know they don't want me to, but I should be allowed to make the choices for my family.
Right.
And that's it. And my mom told me that somebody, I don't know who, is talking about like having a huge nationwide school walkout over mask mandates and stuff. And I think that people need to start doing that, even though it's scary, even though you don't want to rock the boat, because what are you going to do? You have to do something.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, one of my favorite memes this past week, it was, at your next school board meeting, and it's the picture from the, non-January 6th solidarity protests with all of the tall, muscular, blonde men and high-cut hairdos and their polo shirts and their shorts just kind of hanging out. And you're like, fed. But that it's very, that it is being directly attacked. Why? Because it is effective. And just as Rand Paul and that one random guy on a horse in the Australian protests, which I love so much, but they can't arrest all of us. And it's something, again, biggest game of chicken, that if they get people spooked, then they'll only have the few people who aren't spooked, and that is much fewer. Or if it's allowed to be much fewer, it's much easier to attack. And also, it's like, well, I don't want to be called out or get into serious issues. Like, look, if this goes further, and it's looking like it's going further because things have been insane, then look, you're on a list anyways. Don't chill.
Yeah, you guys might not know it, but I'm pretty sure that anybody who hangs out with us has already made the list.
Right. It's like, look, Facebook, Instagram, the internet. It's like in Winter Soldier. I don't know. Sorry. The second Captain America movie, where the Nazis have the Hydra Nazi group. We thought you destroyed them in World War II. No, they've been the deep state in the government, and they've compiled a list of who will oppose Hydra through the internet. And Facebook has a rating on every single person if they're conservative or liberal or vaccine hesitant or the rest of it. So it's like,
Sure.
kind of.
Yeah, no, we need to stand up. That's all there is to it. And it's scary and nobody really wants to do it. And it's kind of too bad. Like, I kind of wish we had left New York. Like, I have all of my family here and stuff, but man, with all the shit that's happening, I kind of wish we had been like, maybe it's time to go somewhere else because it's bad. And I thought Cuomo was terrible, and now we've got this chick who, as Anne loves to point out, was not even elected. And here we are, I don't know, man.
It's creepy stuff. But yeah, it's and also, I mean, I am always a shill for my state, so you know that about me. But there was an article in the Daily Mail this past week saying that South Dakota is the new tax haven. That there's a large investigative journalist report. They still have those about where the rich and affluent of the world keep their money, and people are moving their money out of the Bahamas and to South Dakota because we have no income tax, no death tax, and we have very strict laws about the government seeing your bank account. And unless you have active proof of a crime being committed, you can't. So I'm wondering how that will work with the Biden administration's new thing of, deposits over $600. I'm like,
what deposits over $600? I didn't hear this one.
This is not something that I've done a lot of deep diving into, but it is like it was a deposit over $600 must be reported, and it may, to the IRS. And again, I'd have to look more into more information, but I'm like, whoa, that's really creepy. No, thank you. And it was something else that if you have more than so many deposits on your account, you must have a business. Yeah. Anyways, it's creepy stuff, and I will. Claudia in the chat says transactions over 600. Yeah, it's stupid. It's creepy. I'm against it, and I'm really, really hoping that our well, if it turns out that our state has that and others don't, then we're going to have a crazy influx, and I'll be beating people out with sticks. But
so, Anne, remember we talked about my family coming to stay with you?
Yeah, it seems like you're staying forever.
2 cats, it'll work, right?
Yeah.
There's totally room somewhere.
We'll figure it out. Again, if you're talking about 1800s families before and be like, this is a 2-bedroom house and it has 14 people. Like, if that's how it rolls.
Bunk beds, we could work something out. Yeah. Drawers, trundles, whatever.
Yeah, it works. But
Denise says it gives the IRS the right to see your transactions. Nice.
Yeah, and also, okay, so it's, again, you have, okay, so if they see my paycheck, which they already see with the IRS, and I don't they don't see it directly because it's your W-2, so the whole of what you make in a year. But it's like, so does that also mean that they can look down the account? And I mean, if they're just looking for transactions over 600, well then, how much privacy do you have for the $5 you spend a month paying for Pandora, you know, or even some, if they see everywhere you're spending money.
Why do they care? I spent over $600 buying some outdoor furniture this year. What does that matter to them? Like, I don't
Right.
understand.
Exactly. That it's, it's like medical stuff. None of your business. Where do I spend my money? None of your business.
True
I don't
story.
care if it's, buying a candy bar every other day. It's none of your business.
That is true. Seriously, my brain. You can see the bags under my eyes, but right here and right here, since we've started talking, are really bothering me. And you have this unique ability to give me a headache. It's not a good thing.
I don't mean to.
It's all the knowledge you share. I don't want to know. I would love to be able to put my head in a hole and just chill, for real. But
Right.
and which is back to.
Well,
What other news do you have for us to make us,
Oh, you don't want to hear this. Sorry. Other news involves, Chinese jets over Taiwan and China demanding that, all U.S. troops leave Taiwan, and that's all horrible, basically, because as we've said before, okay, America has had a treaty with Taiwan to defend it since the 70s. Okay, if there's any, and if anything does happen between China and Taiwan, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly for everyone. And so with Afghanistan, we have already taken such a cut as the quote superpower that nobody trusts us anymore. Taiwan is asking Australia, and Australia Australia certainly has the military and stuff, but that Australia has an authoritarian problem of its own, and Taiwan is still asking them for aid. This is a huge problem. Anyways, it's really bad. If we fail to honor that treaty, then China sweeps in and Japan's next, because they've said if Japan moves so much as a soldier, which is mostly political posturing and everything else, but like during the Olympics, when China said that they will move Japan again, which we also have a treaty for their protection, because after World War II, we said, you don't have a military anymore, but we'll protect you. Again, there's so much in the military right now. And, traditionally you have military and you have the honor of it. And, General Milley and the rest of them, no honor whatsoever. Oh, well, we thought that Afghanistan would last for at least 3 more months.
Yeah, because that's an acceptable answer.
Yeah, no one resigns in disgrace. Nobody takes responsibility. Nobody does anything. And right now, I think it was a CNN thing saying that, oh, China could invade Taiwan by 2025. Yeah, just like the Afghan forces could hold out. Yeah, that's really, that's some A+ that's some A+ projecting there. Is this like the Obama job numbers where they would project high and then say like, oh, well, it's not quite, it doesn't quite line up to our projections. Like it was judged against the projections instead of what the actual numbers were, and just stupidity. Anyways, that it is genuinely a problem. Because like I said, if Taiwan goes, then Japan is next. And yeah, I don't. It's like these are our friends and allies, and I don't want, as a totally selfish thing, I don't want to lose Japan. I think I want Japan to survive. It is a magical place, and the the total destruction by China, and China will sweep and take over and happily do so, just as they have taken over Hong Kong before the sort of contract was up. And I mean, they can smell weakness and they'll go for it.
Yeah.
And we're just going to sit here and posture and talk, won't even directly talk about how COVID was started and think that that will be okay when Fauci and all the rest of them have emails saying, not directly questioning China, not listening to the scientists who are brave enough to whistleblow on China, acting both the military, General Milley and his, we've been together for 5 years generally. And, we have the military, the medical, the media specifically, that they're all carrying water for China, including the Disney Corporation, whose biggest release is now in Chinese. It's bad.
It is.
On one hand, luckily, it's been bad before and we have survived. But on the other hand, this sucks and a lot of people don't see it.
Yeah. And, I don't know what we're going to do either. We've got the people who, okay, so we've got the Democrats we talked about who are being like buttheads and doing all this stuff. And then we've got the rhinos that are joining them. And I saw Thune was on a list, and his name sticks out to me is because you hate him so much.
I do.
There were, Mitch McConnell voted for
McConnell's dude, and McConnell's wife is Chinese, but not just that. Oh well, she's Chinese, but her family is in China still and making billions of dollars. And you cannot be in a business in China and not be hand in hand with the Chinese government.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, the turtle is directly making money from the CCP. So it
all together, and we need to get rid of these people. I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to do it because I really don't know about elections anymore. Mm-hmm. But they're telling us who they are. Every time they vote for something, they're saying, hey, I don't really care what the rest of you guys think. So we need to listen to what they're saying and do something about it.
Yeah, and I don't think I shared this story on air, but going to the state fair a month or so ago, and they have the Republican building, and just walking into there, and they're passing out pamphlets for it's Thune and Rounds, and then Dusty Johnson is our state rep, our House member. But yeah, just walking in, it's like, oh, the creep in here is high because it's all big smiles. And actually, Dusty Johnson was there taking pictures, only slightly more substantial than his cardboard cutout, which is right next to him. And I'm just like, it was just, he was so contemptible. Like, there's just, like, it was like, look, like, yeah, I could go up and say whatever, but it's like, I have nothing to say to you. You're a weasel. Like, you, like, again, comments from my brother. He looked so dunkable. Like, like just the nerd kid that, you could collar easily. And not that I would collar my state representative, but as also commented upon in that conversation, clearly those in Washington have already. So maybe next time when we elect somebody, we'll do someone who isn't easily haranguable. Someone whose head you can't stick in the toilet would be a good option.
That's true. But we are getting off on almost an hour, so we should.
Oh,
but
I can't insult my Republican representatives too long. That just takes up too much of our time.
Yeah, but one of our commenters in the chat said that they turn off the news because it makes their blood pressure go nuts. I don't watch nearly as much news as I used to because it actually really messes with my anxiety. and I already had to up my medicine during COVID, and I don't want to keep doing that. So, Ann and I are big on be a part of stuff, know what's going on, blah, blah. But you also have to protect yourself and your family because that's the stuff you got to do. You should know what's happening, but you don't have to have a constant diet of it. It's okay to, watch movies with your kids or take walks with your family or whatever whatever makes you happy, because you want to be involved, but you also need to protect yourself because who knows what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So that was just my little public service announcement.
No, it's totally true. And I mean, back to, lessons learned from World War II, what, incredibly important to anything is high morale and keeping morale up and, making sure it doesn't wear you down. And hey, there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day.
But it's something that's easier said than done. I was pregnant with my second kid when Obama was in office. I was pregnant with both my kids when Obama was in office, but things were really bad the second time around. And I was crying talking to my mother, and she's like, turn off the TV. Turn off the TV and go play with your kid. I'm like, okay. So sometimes you just need a reminder, and things look terrible. And so we need to be involved, but we also need to knit, pray, repeat. Yes, thank you, Denise. We need more. Yes, praying is good. You don't have to know everything to pray and ask for help. So that's what I know. So make sure you guys go check out our sponsor, Chicken Lady Fiber Arts, because she's fabulous and wonderful. And she's been coming out with lots of fall colors. And I bet you if you go check, she's going to have some stuff that's going to be appropriate for Christmas knitting soon. And you can get 20% off using PIK Deplorables 20. And make sure you check her out.
Yeah, and I was chatting with her a little bit this week, and she has some, she hasn't just died up for fall, that she has some new stuff coming after, so I'm very excited.
That's cool. This week was a wash for me. I barely made it through. So part of the reason we're doing a live, you can tell when we don't have enough time because I edit. So if we're doing a live, it's because I didn't have time this week generally. And on that note, next week we are also doing another live. So make sure you come check us at 9 Eastern, 9:30. What do you want to do, Ann?
Works for me.
Okay. So 9 Eastern next week we'll be here. Because I won't have time to edit next week either. So it works out. And make sure you find us on. Oh, Katie Bug says she loves Chicken Lady. It's very good. Very good. Glad you like her. But yeah, so make sure you find us. We're on Rumble, YouTube, Parlor, Gab, MeWe, Telegram, Instagram, Vero, Facebook. I don't know. I think that's all of them.
All the usual suspects.
Yeah.
It's like a Potter watch, keep twiddling those dials.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, make sure you find us. And thanks for joining us, guys. We will see you next week. Have a good week.
All right. See you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.